In this video, we see Alexander Alekhine's game. In this game, Alexander Alekhine play with black pieces, and Francisco Jose Perez play with white pieces. So white started with e4, and Alexander Alekhine replies with e5. Knight c3, bishop c5, bishop c4, d6, knight e2, knight f6, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight c6, and the pressure on knight. So white exchange his knight. Knight takes knight, b takes knight, and the white castles king side. Knight g4 to create pressure on f2. So white continue with queen e2. So Alexander Alekhine continue with queen h4 and direct checkmate threat on h2. So white prevent this with h3. But Alexander Alekhine didn't save his knight and continue with h5. If white take this knight, then h takes g4 and white can't prevent checkmate because this pawn is pinned. If g3, then checkmate. So white can't take this knight. So white continue with bishop f4. So Alexander Alekhine take this f2 pawn. Knight takes f2, and now after moving knight, discover check comes from bishop in next move. If white take this knight with his rook, then queen takes bishop and this rook is pinned. So Alexander Alekhine would take this rook. But after knight takes f2, white didn't save his bishop and sacrifice his another bishop. Bishop takes f7 and check. But Alexander Alekhine can't take this bishop because after king takes bishop, bishop e3 comes and pressure on knight. And after exchanges, Alexander Alekhine can't save his knight. So Alexander Alekhine didn't take this bishop and continue with king e7. And now pressure on both bishops. If white save his light colored bishop, then checkmate comes in two moves. Knight takes h3 and double check. In double check, no one piece can move. So white has to move his king. If king h1, then knight takes bishop and mate. And if king h2, then also knight takes bishop and mate. So white can't save his light colored bishop. And if white take this knight, then queen takes bishop and this rook is pinned. So Alexander Alekhine would take this rook and also pressure on bishop. But after saving bishop, bishop g4 comes and Alexander Alekhine could sacrifice his bishop. And if white take this bishop, then also checkmate threat. Queen h2 check, and after moving king, queen h1 and mate. If white continue with g3, then also checkmate comes. Queen takes g3 and the king has only one move. Then rook h1 is made. But white didn't take this knight and also didn't save his light colored bishop and continue with bishop h2. And here in this position, pause the video and think what is the next move of Alexander Alekhine. If you find the move, congrats. So Alexander Alekhine continue with knight takes h3, and after knight takes h3, white resigned here. So reason for resign is now double check. In double check, no one piece can move. So white has to move his king. Then knight f2 check comes, and if king g1, then knight g4 and discover check comes from bishop. If king h1, then queen takes bishop is mate. And if white move his rook on f2, then queen takes bishop, and after moving king, queen h1 is mate. And after knight f2 check, if rook takes knight, then bishop takes rook, and now threat is bishop g3 and create pressure on this bishop on h2. So after queen f3 to protect g3 square, bishop g4 comes, then queen f4 and the rook f8 comes, and this bishop would win. If black continue with g3 and cut this queen's support, then queen h3 comes, but white can't take this bishop because rook takes bishop comes and the pressure on queen. If queen g1, then bishop f3. So after moving queen, queen takes queen is mate. And if queen e3, then also bishop f3 and check. But white can't move his king because checkmate comes. So white has to take this bishop. After queen takes bishop, rook takes queen, and the threat is rook f2. And create pressure on bishop and also checkmate threat. If white move his rook, then also rook f2 comes. But white can't move his rook on g2 because queen takes rook is mate. So after knight takes h3, white resigned here.